plugins for your computer, charging. Oh, Jeff Dillon was one.
About like you, cold.
Cold, I haven't had enough of this yet.
No.
Enough coffee yet? When you say that, I have to assume it's coffee.
I'm not telling.
Maybe a little Bailey's mixed in there.
I see your mom, wait.
We'll call the meeting to order. Begin with the pledge of flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the agenda, there's no additions or anything to delete, so I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
So moved.
I'll second.
Have a motion and second to approve the agenda as printed. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Public input. Has anybody got anything that they want to talk about that's not on the agenda? If not, we'll start with new business. Number one, code enforcement contract, and it's found on pages 1 and 2.
Basically, no changes, is it?
No changes to his, no.
Yeah.
Are we using up all of that retainer that we pay every month or every year?
Yes,
Do we pay any extra?
yes.
Like how much?
This year we have a little bit left. I think we used about 5,000 total this year, and we budget 6,000. So we didn't use it all this year.
So we just need a signature on it.
Motion to approve it.
Do you want,
Yeah, okay. I'll make the motion to approve it.
you're making a motion that we approve the contract?
Contract.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the code enforcement contract. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Number 2 is changed 2022 meeting dates, and they're found on page 3.
I'll make a motion to approve the change in dates.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the change in dates, and all it is just changing from Monday till Tuesdays. is listed. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Number 3, disability rights complaint found on pages 4 and 5. Has everybody read this? How many of you have looked at this?
I did not.
Well, I could not see. I looked at all these places, and I could not see where, where does it say here? It says specifically where the bike path from St. Lawrence to Miller transitions to Miller City sidewalks on 3rd Street and 4 and 500 East blocks in front of Nature Bound Nursery. Now, I can't see anything wrong with it where it transitions from St. Lawrence, or from that bike path to the city sidewalk.
I had swept a bunch of gravel off where you cross from the path and the sidewalk. There was a bunch of gravel come off that road, but that happens a lot. But I swept that off, so that's probably what that complaint is.
Part of the complaint was, some of the brush or trees from Nature Bound were hanging over the sidewalk.
We took care of all the.
Okay, that's all
Okay.
been,
Yeah, we took care of that a few weeks ago, and I told him when he called me about that, we took care of it. I told him we were busy, but we'll get to it. We did.
yeah. I think that was that, and the sidewalk there being kinda broke up for gravel or whatever.
And he never said anything about that part of the sidewalk at all.
To you, but he did in the letter.
Right, right.
So where are the large cracks and the missing pieces that he's talking about? Where are they at?
I think it's there. That's nature bound. I think it's just broken.
But there's no
It's
missing.
like the concrete delaminated, the tops, the smooth part of the top's gone,
Sure.
and now it's just the rock and
No.
whatever stuff left.
Well, that sidewalk is bad there, needs to be repaired right there where you go into Nature Bound.
Yep.
But,
And then, I think the other places where Frank Blair used to live, there is no sidewalk. They dug through it and never replaced it. I think that's where it might be, where he's talking about the chunks. missing.
well, I think there's an ordinance somewhere that says if you take a sidewalk out, you gotta replace it, isn't there?
No, I don't think so. You have to keep it in good repair. They kind of paraphrased our ordinances right here on this letter. But that was something we talked about, is if you remove it, you have to replace it. Adding that to our ordinances, I don't think it's actually in there. If you remove it, you have to put it back in.
Well, that's what's wrong there in front of where Frank Blair lived, because they took that sidewalk out when they worked on the sewer there.
So are they asking the city to repair this or what? Or just the people that own the property should have to repair it?
And our ordinance say the property owner has to repair it. If they don't repair it, then we will, and we'll levy their
Bill it.
taxes.
Yeah, that's
Go
what
back
the
to that.
ordinance says.
Okay.
But I don't think they're gonna repair it in the next 30 days or whatever they gave us for.
If they did, it wouldn't last.
They do want someone to contact him by January 14th. Who could contact him on that?
Someone from the street committee.
That would be me, I guess. So I can go with you sometime and we can look it over and so I know exactly where the issue is and what it is. And
Meeting's done, you wanna go right then? Unless you got-
it'll only take 5 minutes, right?
Shouldn't take.
We'll look at it, so. All right, Ron and I will go take a look at it and I will make contact.
Do we need a motion or anything?
I don't think so.
Okay, then, let's go on to, is there any more discussion on that? If not, let's go on to number 4, Titan Machinery, resolution number 2021-20. Found on pages 6 through 8.
Titan Machinery is trying to buy the property that they're sitting on. And in doing so, their title person found that their building is sitting on property that is, there's a 67-foot setback on the north side of Nissen lots along the Dairy Queen Road. And their building is sitting on that 67-foot setback. We don't really know why that was there, other than possibly a township road or something. They wanted that setback there. The city of Miller does not have any setbacks for 67 foot for industrial or commercial. So they need the setback removed so that they can actually close on their property, because their title company will not allow them to close on property since their building is sitting basically on city property in their mind. So they gave us 2 options to either rescind or do a variance. Well, we don't really want that setback there. So if we rescind that 67-foot setback on the original plat and just get rid of that, then their property will be sitting on their property basically, because they own everything there. But the county doesn't have any record of why there'd be a 67-foot setback. And at the time that this plat was done, this property was in the county. It wasn't in the city.
Well, I think what the deal was with the setback, they've had setbacks requirements in the county, but they've been changed 2 or 3 times that I can remember of. And I think when that was done, that was a township road there. And the county does own all the right-of-ways. So I think that's how that all come about, because it was outside the city limits when that was done. And the city annexed it. So I
So we
would,
need a motion to remove
I
the
think-
setback?
To
we need
approve
to-
this resolution to remove the setback, we'll just get rid of the setback completely on that.
I think we need to remove this, or approve this resolution to approve to rescind that to where the setbacks, I mean, if you have all the different setbacks every place, then we're gonna get out of being in compliance with our ordinance on an industrial site because there's no setback in the city ordinance. Otherwise, we could end up with these setbacks all over. That'd be nothing but a mess. So I would recommend that we approve resolution number 2021-20.
I'll make a motion, we approve resolution 2021-20.
Okay, do we have a
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. Now, I'll read, before we vote on this, I'll read what this says. A resolution to rescind setback requirements. Whereas the real property described in Exhibit A hereto was plotted in Han County in 1964 as reflected by the survey of plot recorded in Book 3 Plots, page 21. Whereas the plot survey included certain building setback requirements, the setback requirements for the property. Whereas the property was annexed into the city of Miller in 1979, whereas the then owner of the property constructed a building in 1979 that encroached into the setback buffer on the north side of the property, and whereas the city of Miller does not have a setback requirement for commercial and or industrial property, and whereas the current owner of the property desires that the setbacks requirements be rescinded and that the property be treated the same as other commercial and industrial property located in the city of Miller. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Miller that a variance is hereby granted for the above described property as follows. The setback requirements applicable to the property are rescinded as of the date hereof. Number 2, the property shall be subject to the same zoning ordinance and regulations as applicable to other commercial and industrial property located in the city of Miller. And number 3, the owner of the property shall cause these resolutions or a certified copy of these resolutions to be recorded in the real estate record of Han County, South Dakota, dated this 29th day of December, 2021. Now we have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 2021-20. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll vote by roll call. We have to vote on this, or don't we have to
You
do
don't have to do
that?
a roll call, just a regular vote.
Okay. We don't have to vote by roll call, so we'll just do a regular vote on it. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Number 5. South Dakota, what is this then?
South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance, that's our
Public
insurance.
Assurance Alliance Intergovernmental Contract, pages 9 to 11.
They did make some substantial changes in October to our insurance policy. If we decide to try to go somewhere else, they won't let us back on for a couple of years, and they'll only allow us to do that once. They don't want people bouncing back and forth from their insurance to the other. Plus, it takes, I can't remember how many months, like 6 months notice, because they're already in that process of trying to review everything. And ours is good for 3 years. They do a walkthrough every 3 years, they check all, they check everything, so they come out on these visits and go through everything. They've had some people get off of South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance and then wanna get back on the next year. Well, it's so much work for people to bounce back and forth that they've said, no, if you get off, you're off for 2 years. If you come back and you get off again, you're not coming back, just because it's so much work. But they also listed all of the reasons to stay with the Public Assurance Alliance versus just a general insurance company, because they have so many benefits that another insurance company cannot give us. With all of the training, the cybersecurity is free, they don't have an umbrella policy. If there's $1 million loss here, there's another $1 million loss here, there's another $1 million. They don't have it just saying, well, you get, a $5 million umbrella policy. That's not, whatever you have for losses, they're gonna cover it, which is one of the big benefits of the Public Alliance for cities, because you just don't know what's gonna happen. They went through this in a lot of detail in October at our meeting as far as why they're going through these changes, and basically, they just had a lot of people thinking they could get a better deal somewhere else, they got off, and then they quickly wanted back on, so.
On vehicles, is it replacement cost, replacement value, how does that work?
We had everything and that was one of the things they went through just recently in the last 5 years, probably. They changed everything to replacement cost instead of actual value. I think we've got everything now at replacement cost. We had some things that were actual value, which was not a whole lot for some of our vehicles.
Well, like my oil truck, for instance, we
Yeah.
paid $5,000 for it, or $13,000 for it. We lose it, you can't replace it for anything near that.
Yeah, right. So we did change, and that's with them coming. In the last 2 times they've come, we've gone through every line item in detail, and they've walked around more, so we've made a lot of changes to update our insurance policy. So they just want us to sign this to realize that, hey, if we get off, we need to be aware that we're not gonna bounce right back on. And there won't be any refunds for partial. Once we pay our fee, we're not gonna get refunded if we leave either. So, if we're okay with those changes, then we need to have a motion to sign this next year's contract. But this is the first time they've had major changes to it. So we wanted to highlight those changes before signing it.
So this would basically prohibit us from, taking quotes from local insurance companies that have inquired about quoting the city's insurance on different things.
Well, we can take quotes and we can get off, but if we get off, we stay off for 2 years. And when we come back, we don't do that again.
How many years have we been on it?
I don't know, a very long time,
Since you've been here,
yeah.
and
Oh, yeah,
10 years at least,
way longer than that,
yeah.
As long as I remember,
yeah.
might have stepped off one time, went back on, called for sure.
Yeah. They just offer so many other things that, the safety benefits and the loss control and all of that stuff, they really try to do preventative medicine, and they're very good at that.
When
you say check back, you're talking, but, is this also workman's comp? Because we know if we have no safety deals, we'll get checks back.
Yeah,
Is this the same one of them?
well, no, this is just the regular insurance,
Vehicle?
Yeah.
stuff that-
property and casualty. But, yeah, work comp is also, they also are a part of work comp as part of that, and they do, again, a lot of preventative for workman's comp.
So there has been some public, or some local interest in other
Last
insurance
year,
companies, I
yeah.
know that.
Last year,
Joe?
Joe wanted to, and I gave him everything. I never did hear back from him. I mean, I gave him,
You did give him,
for about 2 weeks, I gave him everything he asked for. And I think when he said, what's the umbrella policy, and I said, we don't have one, I think that was kind of a kicker right there, because most insurance companies are not gonna do unlimited $1 million claims. They have to have an umbrella policy, they have to have a limit, they can't afford to not.
Well, I can tell you this about this. Before they had this insurance here, these insurance rates just went wild. I mean, our county's insurance, I don't know what the cities did, but the county's insurance was over $100,000 before they had this. And when they came out with this, it went down dramatically. It was just. So I'm gonna recommend that we sign this contract.
So I'm gonna make that motion. Then we go ahead and sign the contract with South Dakota Public Insurance Alliance.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to sign the contract with South Dakota Public Assurance and Alignment. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Number 6, 2022 bud funding request found on pages 12.
These are the ones that applied for the funding requests that we budgeted for, and the amounts that we budgeted for. We just need to have an approval to do that donation. So we can start that effective January 1st.
I'll make that motion.
You got a motion?
If we got a motion,
Yeah.
okay, if we got a motion
I'll second it.
and a second to approve the budget funding request. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
And I forgot to bring the bills over, so it's gonna take a second for those to go through.
Now approval of the bills. I'd entertain a motion to approve the bills.
So just starting to look at them.
Has everybody looked at
Yeah,
them?
I've gone through them here already too, so.
Actually, I looked at the deal. Joe, I don't know, you wanna put a J.O. on there? Didn't bring a pen.
Motion to pay the bills.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to pay the bills. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. The next thing on the agenda is for an executive session. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn as the regular session and go into executive session.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. No, is there any discussion? If
There
not,
might be. You looking for coffee?
I said too much coffee.
Oh.
I'm
Okay.
looking for coffee.
if there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same, and we'll go into executive session at 8:30. This is pursuant to codified law 1-25-2, parent 1 and 3.
You,
You too.
you too.
Happy New Year.
This has got a little bit of a lag, so I'd like to